This is Pregame Meal. We are back. We have life. We're at the Cadillac Ranch, folks. We're going to break it down. It's Tunch, it's Wolf, and it's the Denver Broncos. And here we go.
All right, it's good to be back here at the Cadillac Ranch.
Yeah, we weren't sure.
Well, you weren't sure
week,
because, last week was the wild card round of the playoffs. And, of course, going into Cincinnati and beating Cincinnati 2 times in a row was a tough assignment. But we talked about it last week. We talked about what the elements were, what it was going to take to put Cincinnati down. And if I do remember, one of us here predicted that there probably would be, at some point in time, a good chance that 1, maybe 2
Right,
guys
you were all over that.
They may melt down.
Yeah,
there could be a meltdown. There could be a couple of guys by the name of Vontaze Burfict and Adam Jones, otherwise known as Pac-Man, who might have a meltdown or two.
I'm gonna throw a couple flowers at you because you were all over that.
Dankeschön.
I really thought there'd be at least a level of maturity there. A level of wisdom, but
Shirley, you
boy,
jest.
it was don't call me Shirley, but I do jest. I was wrong. You were wrong. I thought to myself, nobody could be that. I don't want to say stupid. Actually, that's selfish. Really,
Right.
I mean,
Well,
because
that's
what
it
it
was.
is. It was just selfish. You know, the game was a close one, down to the wire, and then we watched a team implode, self-destruct before our very eyes. First the Vontaze Burfict hit, and then Adam Jones going off and trying to hit Joey Porter, or as he put it, Jerry Porter, and getting a great and Adam Jones talking about AB getting a Grammy, and it was craziness.
Was crazy, was it not?
It was. But having said that, one of the things we've noticed about these games against the Bengals these last 2 years, they have been costly for the Steelers.
There is an attrition rate.
Yeah, Le'Veon Bell getting knocked out of the last game last year and losing him to the playoffs. This year, it's Antonio Brown. Last year, or earlier in the season, the first time around, Le'Veon Bell gets knocked out for the season. And, it's expensive.
Whenever the two teams get together, there seems to be some injury problems, which, through attrition, it's a hard battle.
Right.
It's a tough game. Guys go down. And certainly we got the news today that Antonio Brown was officially ruled out of the game for Sunday's clash up in Mile High. And so that's got to be disturbing. But those are the things that come along when you have this sort of, look, I was on the sidelines, and I'm watching as AB goes up for the ball, and I can't believe Burfict takes that run at him.
Yeah.
I mean, literally lowered his center, brought out the flipper, and went directly at the head of AB. And you could tell from when we landed, you knew that there was problems.
Yeah. One of the things that people think, it's the launched player that is the more dangerous. But the reality of it is, when you run through a player on a hit and your feet are on the ground, you have a greater degree of inertia, and it's more devastating. We see guys throw their bodies, and they say, well, you can't launch, and it's dangerous. And the reality of it is, and we saw what the consequence of that was, and that was that he is out, and because Vontaze Burfict ran through Antonio Brown, and he would have been better off if he launched himself.
No question about it. You could tell from
AB would have been better off.
Yes, from the lack of rigidity in the body. When AB hit the ground, he was completely,
loose.
You knew he was out. He was loose.
Ragdoll.
Just like a ragdoll. It was like a ragdoll.
Yeah.
He hit the ground, and you could see the commotion starting right off the bat from the sidelines as both teams came out. Then John Norwig came up. Then we saw the whole mess that began out there as they were helping AB off the field. Vontaze Burfict came up, put a hand out to, like you're going to say, hey, AB, hope you get better, after you just vaporized him with an illegal hit. And John Norwig, the trainer, slapped his hand away, which then brought Joey Porter over, who was worried about AB out there, and to say something, which then brought Wallace Gilberry in to bump Joey into the pack of Bengals.
Right.
And that started, of course, the downfall of Adam Jones drawing a penalty, which then moved with the previous 15-yarder, another 15 yards. And then, of course, you got Money Man. Chris Boswell went out and booted the winner.
Right, yeah. And not to mention, let's further, the game was almost lost, and one of the reasons was Ben gets slammed by Vontaze Burfict, drives his shoulder into the turf. lands on top of him. Ben gets the sprained AC joint. And, Ben hasn't practiced this week. I mean, they said he's limited, but, yesterday he's on the elliptical.
He's just handing out.
Yeah, right.
Handing off the ball.
Yeah, so the reality of it is, so no AB. How bad is Ben's shoulder? We don't think it – I mean, we're not expecting it to be bad, but, gosh, we were wrong about AB. I thought AB for sure – was going to be able to play this week. I was shocked at the news this morning. I really thought, since it was his first concussion, and that he'd bounce back from it.
Well, do you think that Adam Jones, who stated the day or two after the game that if AB was ruled out of the game, that he would offer an apology? You think at this point, first of all, do you really care?
Well, I don't care. I
No,
could care
who
less.
cares?
I mean, I'm not going to feel better about it. Here's the reality. Adam Jones was interviewed by Brandon Marshall on Inside the NFL. And Brandon called Adam Jones on it saying, you called it a fake, but the reality of it is I saw it. He goes, there's no way you're going to convince me that he wasn't acting. And so Brandon Marshall said in the interview, which was a really good, interesting interview, because Brandon Marshall didn't let him off the hook. Usually a player,
Right.
But Brandon Marshall said, so are you saying that you're going to apologize publicly to Antonio Brown if he, in fact, does not play this week? Now, I don't really care, to be quite honest with you, but that's what happened earlier in the week.
All right. Well, anything else?
No, I just think that, once again, it was costly, and there is no AB. Hopefully, Ben's shoulders
okay.
And once again, the AC joint is a local area. You could shoot that thing and
shoot it up,
shoot
baby.
it up, baby. The needle is your friend,
That was
as
our
we used to
theme.
say that. Get in line for the block party.
Indeed. All right. When we come back now, it's time for the J&D Waterproofing pregame meal as we break down the Denver Broncos, because as Myron once said, those Broncos, they're just Yonkos.
Deck the Broncos, they're just Yonkos.
Hello, folks. It's Craig Wolfley. Please join us in welcoming to the team J&D Waterproofing as title sponsor to the Craig Wolfley podcast. J&D Waterproofing and Home Improvements is a third-generation family-owned business, celebrating 75 years of service in waterproofing, wall anchors, excavation, driveways, windows, roofing, gutters, and siding remodeling. They service Western PA, West Virginia, Ohio, and Maryland. Go to www.jdwaterproofing.com.
On deck for the pregame meal scouting report, the Denver Broncos.
Should have gotten the part where the horse has the heart attack in the Animal House and drops.
That would have been good.
Yeah.
No question about it. All right, the Denver Broncos. This is a team that, early in the season, they just looked just terrific.
Right.
And then, of course, the Steelers beat them the first time around in Heinz Field. But this second time around, we will see Peyton Manning where we saw Brock Osweiler the last time there. But this is an offense that it's not a highfalutin, high-powered offense the way that you would expect the Peyton Manning offense of 2 years ago when it set league records.
Well, when Gary Kubiak took over as head coach, and let's face it, we've been around Kubiak for a long time. He was the offensive coordinator under Mike Shanahan when those guys won Super Bowls. They had the outside zone, inside zone scheme, which they ran the ball well. He went down to Houston, was the head coach for the Texans, continued that line of, it's run the ball, play action, pass deep. The drop back game is a five step West Coast feel to it, and that's the Mike Shanahan influence. So Kubiak goes to Baltimore and gets him back into the playoffs. Does a great job there. Now back in Denver, where he was a backup quarterback to Elway with his good buddy John Elway, and it's not the offense under John Fox.
No, it's not the same offense, which was a record-setting offense.
Right. But Kubiak, I admire Gary Kubiak because he wants to do what he wants to do. He knows the offense that he wants to run. Now, let's face it, Peyton Manning isn't what Peyton Manning was either.
No,
when
he certainly
2013 and 14, This is a different Peyton Manning. The arm strength has diminished significantly. You don't see any frozen ropes. Every throw has an arc. He's trying to time his throws better. So what he's doing is he's throwing the ball a good 2-3 steps before guys come out of their breaks. So he's thrown to a spot, and the ball's in the air longer. The most interceptions he's ever thrown in his career, 17. The only game that he hasn't thrown an interception was the game that we were listening to on the way home from Cleveland.
Exactly.
Coming off the bench at San Diego. So, are they still going to run the outside zone? Absolutely. Can he run the boot like Brock Osweiler?
I don't think so.
I don't think so either.
No. Let's start with the offensive line up front, Chaluch, okay? Right. Because this is where it gets problematic for the Denver offense.
Yes.
Because you and I both agree this is not a great offensive line.
No. Very soft. Ryan Harris and Schofield, the tackles, they get bowled easy. Evan Mathis, who was a really good player at one time, looks
like an older type player. He's got that stiff older guy look to him.
Vasquez. Look, they're very soft, and I love this matchup for the Pittsburgh Steelers from a pass standpoint. There, Stephon Tuitt, James Harrison with his bull rush. These guys are made for Cam Hayward. The way the Steelers rush the passer, this is a great matchup for them because they're soft and they don't pass off the twists well because they are soft. And,
exactly.
And Peyton Manning, let's face it, he needs to hitch into his throws. There's no place to hitch up to.
Right. When you say hitch into his throws, you are saying you're talking about him moving up in the pocket.
Right. He's got to get momentum going forward.
Right.
And you do that, and they call it a hitch, and it's like a shuffle step towards where you're throwing to create momentum.
Exactly.
He doesn't have the arm because of his neck surgeries. I mean, let's face it. You can only play this game so long. And is he 40 now? Yeah.
Pretty close, too.
He's
I
39.
think he's
39. He's 39 years old, and he's had several neck surgeries.
Yes.
So the nerves, they're not firing like they once did, and that's why you see the arm has lost it's lost the zip. And so now, if he can't hitch into his throws, gain momentum, he's not going to get the ball there. So this is not the Peyton Manning that could throw off his back foot or falling away or or even.
And he certainly can't run the naked boot or sprint outs or anything like that.
And his throws downfield, he's only completed 3 balls this season that have traveled 30 yards in the air.
That's incredible.
Only 3.
9 of 41, I think you said.
Yeah, and
of 20 or more.
Yeah, 9 of 21 of 20 or more.
Yeah,
that's the ball traveling 20 yards down the field.
This is what happens when we get bogged down in statistics. I just had to go for it. Had to bring it up.
Yeah, it's okay. I got you.
Okay.
So and not only are the completions down, but his attempts are down. So if you're the Steelers secondary, you're not afraid of getting beat over the top. I'm not going to say you're not afraid, but you're not as afraid with A.J. McCarron or Andy Dalton or guys like Flacco. You could play it a little. You know what? You could play a little bit more destructive, and because Peyton relies so much on rhythm, you could disrupt that rhythm because he's going to throw to a spot.
Right.
Yeah, that's the way he does. He throws to the spot. And if you don't let the guy get to the spot.
Well, then you start playing man, you jam him.
Yeah.
And you make sure you get, some good stiff jams that they can't just walk through.
Right.
You want to slow them up so they don't get to that insertion point where Peyton's trying to time his throws.
Yeah.
Which is really what West Coast offense was all about.
Right. And if you play zone, the underneath coverage could come up with picks this week. Because that's a great way to get him to trap him into throwing it to a guy, and you come out and make the play.
I will say this, too. One of the things I was watching as I was watching film, one of the things I thought that they could do, the Steelers, that is get a great TT or tackle twist.
Right.
The 2 tackles twisting behind each other, penetrate, push the pocket from the inside, get in those gaps, and make it impossible, as you were talking about earlier, for Manning to step up to hitch into his throws.
Right.
So hopefully they can get that done. One of the big things is much of the time they double-team Cam Hayward.
Right.
And they leave Stephon Tuitt singly.
Right.
Singled up with a man. And Stephon's got to beat that guy.
Yeah.
As I talked about earlier, Artmos was the guy who really started to run right through the right tackle, Schofield or Schofield. I don't know which it is pronounced.
Yes.
Yes, either or.
Yeah.
So watching Art Motes, he didn't run the arc. When Bud Dupree got in there, if you remember. Schofield, okay.
Yeah.
The Bud Dupree would run an arc that took him behind Brock Osweiler in the game at Heinz Field. Whereas when Art Motes flipped over to that left side and replaced, because with Bud, he got nice pressure running through Schofield. So,
ran over him.
Absolutely.
That's what you have to do. These guys, they're an outside zone team. And, you look at that offensive line, they're better at run blocking than they are at pass blocking.
They're better at run blocking sideways than they are than they are coming straight off.
Go ahead, say it. Don't sugarcoat it.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of poofy.
Yeah.
You know, that's what we used to call them back in the day.
Soft.
Kind of soft. They don't come off the ball hard. They don't slobber knock you. They don't wear double chin straps and duct tape their mouth guards and try to rip you off the ball. They try to make you run sideways and then hit a cutback on you.
Yeah, and the guy that he runs as well as Ronnie Hillman. Ronnie's our outside guy. Does a great job. He's got great vision. He's got shifty. He's got speed. He can press the edge. He has a feel for running this offense. I mean, he's a natural.
He's a guy that can hit that cutback.
Yeah,
and then he's 6 places along the way.
Right, and he's got great vision, and he's got that shift and that speed to, if he gets to the edge, or even if you over pursue and he cuts it all the way back, he can run a long way. I mean, he can take it to the house. Now, Steelers did a great job of bottling him up last time. C.J. Anderson, more the power guy.
He's a guy that is, as you talked about earlier, he's impatient. He doesn't want to wait, stretch it out.
Right.
He wants to find a gap and hit it up, go north and south. And they've got two, and like it is each and every week. The Steelers' defense just has to tackle well.
Right.
Tackle well. Be solid in your run gap integrity. Everybody get their run gap fits, and then you just got to tackle well. And I think the Steelers will do well here. Certainly, you got to look at, you got Manny Sanders, Demaryius Thomas.
Yep.
Those are the two big pass catchers. But Owen Daniels is a guy who just seems to be a thorn in the side of the Steelers whenever they play him.
Wolf, although Owen Daniels is their third leading receiver, sometimes I think he's the most effective. I mean, he's the guy that moves the chains. He's the guy that finds the end zone. He, in his 10th year, he is just productive. I mean, he could just flat out play. And he is great. Now, these guys will run more tight end screens to Owen Daniels and Vernon Davis. They got Vernon Davis in the middle of the season, traded San Francisco for him. Vernon Davis, I believe, is more comfortable in the offense today than when we saw him 4 weeks ago. And then Virgil Green's not bad. They're third tight end. And these guys will run more tight end screens than I think than any team that I've seen. Going back to their wide receivers, you're talking about Emmanuel Sanders. I think he's their best receiver. Although
he's terrific.
He's their number 2 in catches, and right behind Demaryius Thomas in yardage. But Emmanuel Sanders just plays hard every time the ball's in. He attacks every route like it's his fast route. As a matter of fact, at times it looks like he's running too fast for his body. But he, he's really fun to watch. I mean, and, fans, when he was here, when he left, and people tend to take an attitude. But, the guy can play. Yeah,
not only can he play. I always liked Manny Sanders. I thought Manny was just a good dude.
Right.
All right. Flip it over to the we covered Peyton.
Yeah, we did.
All right,
we
already covered Peyton. Good.
Yeah.
Let's just flip it over to the defense. Take a look at the defensive line.
Yeah.
That's where it starts. The guy that I really like up front is Malik Jackson, number 97. You told me early on, I said, watch, this guy hits good swim. He's got great hands. He traps, meaning he knocks down the hands. I got into watching him last night, spent a lot of time just in ISOing on him. He's got he'll go with a double hand trap. He'll try one hand. He's got a quick swim in a short box.
Yeah.
If you put him down there in that 3 technique, he'll come over the top.
Yeah.
Like Johnny Weissmiller and Tarzan.
Yeah,
what a swim, man.
What a swim was.
Yeah, probably nobody remember who Johnny Weissmiller was.
Yeah, there's people here going, who is Tarzan and who is Johnny Weissmiller?
But anyhow, if you ever saw Tarzan swimming, then you know what Malik Jackson could do.
Yeah.
This guy can get after it.
Yeah, real impressive with him. A great first step. And then on the other end, it's Derek Wolf, a guy who uses hands. Great, just big effort guy. Great motor guys. Always flying to the ball. This defense he uses his hands well on the inside. Sylvester Williams is nose tackle. He's good, but he's not good consistently.
No, he's 10 pounds of potatoes in a 5-pound sack. I mean, he is compact. He's thick. He's but the thing he's able to be moved. You can take all three of these guys. You can take them off the ball. I saw Cincinnati take them off the ball. If the Steelers' offensive line is patient with their double teams and they get the guy with his hand in the dirt, they stay on him, walk him back. You can take him 2-3 yards off the ball, put him in the lap of Trevathan, put him in the lap of Brandon Marshall on the inside linebackers, and you can get a running game going.
Yeah, well, because what makes Trevathan and Brandon Marshall good is their speed.
Right.
They're athletic. I mean, so when you look at this defense, Wade Phillips, 40 years in the National Football League as a coach, both as an assistant and as a head coach. Tremendous defensive coordinator. To contrast him, I'm going to use Belichick, because Belichick's a guy that every man do your job, do exactly what you're supposed to do. Wade Phillips, on the other hand, he's kind of more of a, hey, cut it loose, get to the ball. You know what? We've got enough speed that if you guess wrong, we've got 10 other guys to make up for it. So that's the way they play defense. Sometimes when you watch them, you go, well, what? They're running around blocks, and but they have the speed to do that. They're a very, very athletic. So going back to your point, you double those down guys and drive them in to the linebackers. I think you'll have something in the running game. And the Steelers did not run the ball well on Denver at Heinz Field. But they threw the ball pretty well.
Yeah, they did. They did indeed. All right, now one of the things that is going to make throwing the ball tough is the fact that you got a couple of guys on the outside there, being Von Miller, DeMarcus Ware. Those two guys can get after it. I love watching Von Miller. The first 3 steps, he's quick off the ball. But you were saying earlier, and I totally agree with you, he can power rush or he can play the speed rush.
Yeah, he's got he can be a finesse. He can be a finesse rusher. But if you set on him as a finesse rusher, he can run you over. If you set hard on a guy that's going to run you over, he's got the finesse to change directions on you. And what's interesting is, DeMarcus Ware is not what he was, but he's still good. Still good. Older. But then they got these young guys, Shaq Barrett and Shane Ray, and they come at you in waves. And all 4 of these guys can rush, and they keep them. Von Miller's the one that stays on the field the most. So they'll rotate DeMarcus Ware and Shane Ray and Shaq Barrett. But they're very fast, very athletic, and they these guys definitely fly the ball. And here's the other thing they do: they'll run a lot of 5 bigs at you, because they want to take advantage of the matchup, the one-on-one matchup.
Exactly. And then, of course, to put Von Miller on a guy they think is, as you called it, the pigeon.
Pick the pigeon.
Yeah, you don't want to be the guy where you look up and see Von Miller, because that means you're the pigeon.
Yeah.
Now, it's interesting because Von Miller just got back to practice. He was out from practice earlier this week because he was sick.
Yeah.
And then I found out what he was sick from. He ate some bad cheese sticks, he said.
Yeah.
Bad cheese sticks. He said it was like putting low-grade gasoline into a Ferrari. He's got to upgrade his gasoline.
So make sure you stay away.
So he's back. He's back, and he's doing good.
Yeah.
All right, so you got that front 5, those guys, but you think about, again, just Trevathan, Brandon Marshall, guys that will run around a block, but they got speed, and they're a quick strike force.
Yeah, they're good. They'll fly. It's 11 guys rally to the ball, and they're very, very opportunistic. They'll strip the ball. They do a great job on trying to pop it out. I think they've had like 13 forced fumbles on the year. So they'll
52 sacks, 13 forced fumbles, and some INTs.
Yeah.
All right, speaking of INTs, the no-fly zone.
Yeah.
The no-fly zone is a Denver secondary calls themselves, starting with Chris Harris on one corner, Aqib Talib. Chris Harris, of course, got torched after not giving up any touchdowns for 2 years.
Right.
AB hit him for a touchdown and 189 yards, 16 carries. Two touchdowns.
Two touchdowns. And
yeah,
Marcus Wheaton had a touchdown. Look, Steelers did a great job. I will say this: Darian Stewart, their free safety, T.J. Ward, their strong safety, were not in that game. But having said that, they've got 4 safeties that can play. David Bruton was a pretty good player, big guy. He got hurt in that game.
Low-flying Wallace.
And then Omar Bolden, and then not to mention Josh Bush and KO. Although they've played a lot of safeties. Now, this week, it's a little different. We were talking about John Elway on our show today. It was like after they lost to Seattle, and with the shutdown corners and the big safety and Cam Chancellor and the ends that could rush, Elway goes out and gets DeMarcus Ware, Aqib Talib, and T.J. Ward. a corner, a pass rusher, and a hard-hitting safety. So kind of interesting,
You think he took a little note from the team that beat him in the Super Bowl?
This is what beat us. Let's get after it. Akeem Talib, terrific corner. Chris Harris Jr., although he AB turned him every which way but loose. Another good. These guys have 3 corners that can all cover. Bradley Roby is the nickel. Good. These guys are good. And but we've seen the production that Ben had. But you got to win on first down against these guys. You take the quick stuff, pile the completions. Don't try to go downfield all the time.
The thing that I really believe the Steelers have to do is, number one, win on first down, like you said, and then they've got to have third down packages where they got makeable third downs, because that has been really their nemesis the last couple of weeks. They get themselves in too many 3rd and 7s, 3rd and 8s, and you want those makeable 3rd and 4 or less third down situations. And given Ben's arm and the propensity for this team to send 5 hounds after him and get a good pass rush, it's going to be big to get wins on first down.
So, Wolf, let me quote our old offensive line coach, Ron Blackley. Or not Ron Blackley, Raleigh Dotch, rather.
Okay.
Keep it simple.
Keep it real simple.
Run the ball.
Run the ball.
Yeah, 1,001, 1,002, get rid of the ball.
All right, anything else?
That's it, baby.
All right.
I'm ready for this round.
Here we go. Thank you to Chad and the staff here at Cadillac Ranch for a great season of doing the pregame meal. We hope to be back here again next week. And please choose Cadillac Ranch for all of your football viewing. Thanks, everybody. Appreciate you for coming out. Thank you, Auburn. And as always, go Steelers. Hi, everybody. I'm Craig Wolfley, and you can watch all of the NFL games right here at the Cadillac Ranch. They have the NFL Sunday Ticket. They got a great game day menu. You can watch the Steelers here at the Cadillac Ranch.
They got great monitors, great action, and most importantly, they got great food.
You got it.